Hello friends, welcome to the lecture on Perl Debugger. This is kind of a debugging technique that you can use during the course of writing Perl scripts. Usually what we do is we tend to debug a Perl program by writing few print statements. This is the most common practice that usually people follow. But ideally you can use Perl Debugger. This is a very handy debugging tool which is an inbuilt tool that can be invoked from the command prompt. So we'll go through how we can use a Perl debugger, what are the various commands that can be used in the Perl debugger. Now, let's get started. How do we invoke a Perl debugger? We'll simply call the script name with the -d option. So let us actually try to invoke the Perl debugger here. So what I'll do is I'll quickly get onto a Perl debugger. So this is how you can actually go ahead and invoke a Perl debugger. So let's say I want to invoke the debugging option on my script, that is arithmetikoperators.pl. So if I simply enter, then I'll get the prompt that is debugger1. So 1 is basically if I want to write any command, so this is the prompt. So for the debugging options, you have various commands that are available in the Perl debugger. Let's go through each one of them and we can simply then probably take few of these commands and see how exactly they work. So what are the debugger commands? First one is the L. L basically says to list a particular set of lines, mostly 10 from your current program that is in consideration. So if I simply type L, it will give me a set of 10 lines here. If I again type L, it will and hit enter, it will display the next 10 lines, so on and so forth. Now, if I want to specify a particular range, I can simply do that saying L, and let's say my range is from 2 to 4. So it has displayed all the lines between 2, 3 and 4. So all these three lines were displayed here. So there was nothing on the second and the fourth line. Third line there was a comment. So this is how you can also specify range. So this helps you to understand, okay, what are the lines that you want to take into consideration. So L will actually work in tandem with other commands. As of now, you can just keep this in mind. The next command is the hyphen command. Now, if I specify hyphen here, you can see from the last commands that we displayed using the L, the hyphen actually rolls back to the previous set of 10 commands. So this is how it works. Displays the line preceding the last displayed line during the debug process. That's how a hyphen command works. W is basically a window. It is to list a window of lines that contains a specified line. So it is basically you just specify W along with a option that is to display 7 lines after the line that you have specified. Let's move on to some other commands. Now here you can also have a pattern matching which is either in the forward side or on the backward side. So it is something like when we want to actually perform uh, a search on a notepad, you usually do the up search and the down search. So this is similarly in this case, if you do a up search, you are basically doing a forward search that is using the forward slashes. And if you want to search backward in the file from the last displayed line, you usually use the question mark. So it's pretty simple, something like this. And I just want to, let's say, search jump now. So you can simply see that we have got this particular line. Similarly, if I want to search use, now it says, okay, use strict is the line. It has done a backward search and got me this particular line, use strict. You can use all the kind of special characters that are available in Perl for regular expressions. So something like ch star should work. So whatever kind of regular expressions you want to use, you can use, and the output would be according to the pattern that is matched in the program that we are debugging. Then comes the S command. So S basically lists all the subroutines that are present in your package. So if I type S, it gives me all the subroutines. Now these are all the user defined, these are all the subroutines that are available. But if you want to see your subroutines that you have written, or you want to see the subroutines that were part of your main package, you'll simply have to search where exactly you find main. So it would be something like main colon colon subroutine. In this particular case, or in this particular file, I didn't had any subroutines. Hence, there is no such option called as main. To quit the debugger, you simply use Q and say enter. Now we have quit the debugger. Let's say I'm executing this particular file, that is subroutines underscore advanced.pl. Now, in this case, if I type capital S, I'll get these subroutines that are listed. So this is something similar in that case, but here you can see there are few subroutines that we have defined. So main print array and main print hash. These are nothing but these are the subroutines that we have defined in this particular file. So this is how you can list all the subroutines that you want to or that you want to get displayed from your current program. Now, how do you? So these were the commands where we have actually displayed a stack trace. But how we actually step through each of these lines and see whether they are working correctly or not. So this is the most important part. So to step through a particular program, you simply type S. We'll quickly see how exactly this works. We'll again go back to our previous file. Now what we'll do is we'll simply type S, and you can see it displays each line. Okay, it displays each line, and as this particular line is waiting for a particular input, I'll simply type, let's say 10 here. Now again it is waiting for that input, so I've typed 20. So this is how it executes each line and displays the next line that would be getting executed. Now if I type again, if I type S, it is waiting for the input, as I'm saying my $num1 is equal to stdin. So if I provide 10, it has gone back to the next line. The next line says this would be executed. So I'll simply again go ahead and step through my program and say S. Okay, enter the second num. Now again it is going to wait because I have to provide an input from the standard input. Now you have got to this particular point. So this is how you can actually step through each of these lines in your program. In case of an error, it will give you an error for that particular line. But if everything works fine, then it will keep on it will execute this particular line and execute the next line that is in consideration. If you want to execute the next line, you simply type S and hit enter. That's how you can step through a particular program. Similarly, S can be, in case a subroutine is encountered, what S will do is it will step into that subroutine, execute that subroutine, and then display the, or it will first display the first executable line of that subroutine. Similarly, there is an N command. N and S command are pretty much the same, but in case of N command, it whenever a subroutine is encountered, it doesn't goes into the subroutine. It evaluates the subroutine in its entirely and then displays the next line that is after the subroutine. In S, it steps through each of these lines in the subroutine. We'll see how, let's say, if we enter the subroutine and now we want to come out of the subroutine, you have to use an R command. We'll see how exactly that works also. F command is basically to execute the lines or the statements that are still remaining for a particular subroutine, and then those remaining statements, once executed, it goes ahead and displays the line that immediately follows the subroutine call. So let's move on to the next slide. As I said, if you want to actually come out of a subroutine, you can use R. So at any given point in time, you think that this subroutine, you don't really need to go ahead and check for further details or for further investigation. You can simply come out of that particular subroutine by typing the R command. This is one of the most important aspect. How do you actually get the variables that are there in your uh, program? So you can simply go ahead and type capital X. What it does is it gives you a list of all the variables that are available in your program. So if I do this, it gives me all these variables that are defined in my program. Now these are some global variables also. Our own variables would be something like these. So if I go ahead and see this, it has a huge number of inbuilt variables. Variables with main are our own variables. So now, in order to get the value of a specified variable, and let's say you know the value of, you know the name of that variable, you simply use x and that particular variable, and you will quickly get the value of that particular variable at that instance of execution or at that point in time. Similarly, the v command, it is pretty much similar to the x command, but here what it does is it takes in an input as a package name. So it displays all the variables only for that particular package. Now comes the point where you actually apply the breakpoints. So what are breakpoints? Breakpoints are positions where you think the code should directly go there and start executing from that particular point. So if that particular statement works fine, then you are good to go and you go ahead executing each line after that. So breakpoints can be applied using a simple letter, that is B, and you can specify a line number where you actually think the breakpoint should get applied. Once this is done, a breakpoint is available at that particular point. In order to directly reach to that breakpoint, you can use the C command. So C command actually executes everything till that particular breakpoint. It then executes the breakpoint. If everything works fine, then it simply says it's not breakable, or if there is some kind of an issue, it will give you a message saying there is it's breakable, and the error that is associated with that particular line. Now, C command can also be used to actually create temporary breakpoints. So the moment that particular breakpoint is set using the C command, which is very much similar to the B command. So you just simply say B, comma, let's say at the 10th line, I want to just create a breakpoint. Similarly, C, comma, C space 10, 12, whatever line or whichever line you want it to be in consideration. The moment that particular line is reached, the breakpoint that is set by C are deleted. So basically C sets all temporary breakpoints. I hope this is pretty much clear till now. Now L, it displays all the breakpoints in the program along with the last few lines, the current line, and the conditions on which the breakpoint will actually get executed. So these are all basically simple letters by which you can actually debug your program using the Perl Debugger. Now to delete all the breakpoints, you use caps D. To delete a specific breakpoint at a particular line, you simply say D space the line number where you had set the breakpoint. Now let's say you want to start the trace mode. So you just have to type T onto your screen, something like this, and it will start the trace mode. When trace mode is on, it actually executes each line and display it on the screen. So it is basically, it gives you all the details. It gives you the entire stack trace of what you are doing during the debugging process. In order to see all those commands that you have executed, you simply use the history command. You have the not operator or the not sign to execute your previous commands. You can specify not space some kind of a command number, because history has all these. The history would be like something uh, in the form of number of commands you have executed. So let's say not space 5, it means that you want to execute the fifth command. Similarly, capital T, it displays all the stack trace of all the subroutines that have been called so far. P is used to print the value of an expression from inside the debugger. So in case you have an expression, you want to evaluate that particular expression, you have reached that particular expression using the S or the N operator, N command. So simply in order to print that, you can go ahead and use the print command, print P followed by the expression. To get the help, you can simply use the H command. So that's it. We have come to the end of our lecture. I'll see you guys at the next lecture.